What anarchists oppose. Hierarchy. As previously stated, anarchists are opposed to domination. Relations of command and obedience are not only unnecessary but also inherently detrimental to humanity. Everyone should have control of their own life instead of being bossed around by others. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system based upon wage labor. Under capitalism, a small group of people, the capitalist class, owns the means of production, land, factories, mines, and so on, and the working class, which is the majority of the population, must sell their labor to the capitalist class in order to survive. If the workers do not sell their labor, they will starve because they do not have access to the means of production. The capitalist class monopolizes them. The ownership of the means of production by the capitalists does not have to be direct, but can be through an organization they control, such as corporations. Anarchists are also opposed to all other class systems, but focus on capitalism because it is the dominant economic system today. Class is economic hierarchy. Other class systems include feudalism, Soviet-style socialism, which many anarchists consider to be a form of state capitalism, and slavery. The state. Sociologists define the state, also called government, as an organization with a monopoly or near monopoly on the legitimate use of violence. It is a centralized rule-making body with a pyramidal hierarchical structure that uses its monopoly of force to boss around all those within its territory. It maintains various armed bodies of people, police, military, and coercive institutions, courts, prisons, with which it coerces the population into obeying its dictates. Because of its hierarchical structure and monopoly of force, the state always acts to enforce the rule of a small elite. It exists not to enforce order or anything like that, but to enforce the will of the ruling class. Anarchists are opposed to all states, including representative democracy. Elected governments are run by and for a small elite, just like all other states. Elected representatives are not tied in any substantial way to particular policies, regardless of the preferences of the electorate. Ordinary people have no real control over the decisions of the politicians. Once elected, they can make whatever decisions they want, regardless of what most people want. Representatives are separated from the population, but exposed to powerful pressure groups, including state bureaucracies, corporations, lobbyists, and political party power brokers. Socialist states. Attempts to overthrow the capitalist class and implement a socialist workers' state inevitably lead to the replacement of the old ruling class with a new bureaucratic ruling class that exploits the working class just as the old ruling class did. There is no effective way for the working class as a whole to control the state. It has a monopoly of force, and will simply use that monopoly to establish itself as a new ruling class. Decision-making power lies with the leaders, not with the masses of ordinary workers. When the Politburo or Parliament or Council of People's Commissars or other leaders are making the decisions, the workers are not. Patriarchy is male domination, a social relation in which men have power over women, gender hierarchy. In every society, men and women are expected to behave in certain ways, and if they do not, they are subjected to various forms of coercion ranging from being made fun of to violence to exile. How a man or woman is expected to behave in a given society is called their gender. This is different from sex, which refers to the biological characteristics that distinguish male from female. Gender varies greatly from society to society. Under patriarchy, gender is constructed so that, on average, men have more power than women. The results of this are quite negative. In addition to diminishing women's freedom, it also results in sexual harassment, reduced opportunities for women, rape, and various other forms of sexual violence. Anarchists advocate equality of the sexes. Heterosexism is a natural outcome of the form of patriarchy that exists in the West and many other parts of the world. Gender in most modern patriarchal societies is constructed so that heterosexual behavior is the norm. Homosexuals deviate from how men and women are expected to behave, and so are subjected to various forms of coercion as a result. There is thus a hierarchy between hetero and homosexuals. Anarchists are opposed to any sort of oppression on the basis of one's sexuality. White supremacy. Race is a social construction. It divides a population into a hierarchical set of races with those on top, the white race, having privileges and power over those in other lower races. Race is hereditary. Usually people are assigned to their race based on some meaningless characteristic, such as skin color. Race is not at all biological, but is a pure social construction. Looking at different societies that have different constructions of race easily proves this. What Americans call blacks are actually broken into several different races in most Latin American countries like blacks, mulattoes, and so on. In the US, Irish, Italians, and East Europeans were considered non-white 100 years ago, but today are considered whites. In Rwanda, two groups most Americans would consider black, Hutus and Tutsis, are regarded as two different races. White supremacy first arose with the Atlantic slave trade as a way of justifying it and of splitting the working class to ensure that poor whites did not ally with rebellious blacks. Imperialism is a social relationship in which the rulers of one country dominate the population of another country or territory. At present, the United States is the main imperialist nation, dominating most other countries in the world. Past imperialist powers have included the Soviet Union, Rome, Germany, England, and the Aztecs.